Father, do you think it's wrong to have hope that as we focus on our own problems, which are true and real, and we just discussed those, um, once we're pushed out of the way, I don't think there's going to be any impediments to being able to see with anybody's eyes who has any remote Catholicism left when they go full tilt mental. If we're not around to be a stone to rub against them, and the modernists in the church, in the hierarchy, can just do whatever they want without commentary, they're going to go full tilt. It's going to be obvious to anybody, even some of the Novus Ordo people, that they're completely off the rails.
Well, you know what? It's interesting you say that because I don't know. I mean, the thing is that, I mean, I really think we're there right now. And yet, see, I mean, again, you may be right, but based on what I'm seeing right now, I don't think so. I mean, I think that what's going to happen is, and it already is happening. I mean, I basically would say you've got a schism. I mean, you have those that are the true Catholics that are like in the underground right now, and that are being marginalized, and maybe will be marginalized more in the coming months by Francis or by his successor, maybe in the coming years. I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't think that's going to happen because, again, right now, I don't understand. I kind of can't understand why every single Novus Ordo Catholic that at least, I'm not talking about all Novus Ordo Catholics, but I'm talking about all of the ones who at least have a pretty good knowledge of their faith and love God and love the church. Now, what percentage that is, I don't know, but let's just say that out of all the Catholics in the world, excuse me, let's say 10%. Let's say 10% of Novus Ordo Catholics, like they have a pretty good grasp of their faith. You know, they know their faith. They care about their faith. They love God. They love our Blessed Mother. They love the church. On those 10%, which is still a significant number. I mean, if you just take the round number of 1 billion Catholics worldwide, so then 10% would be 100 million. That's a lot of Catholics. I can't understand why those 100 million Catholics don't see right now what you're talking about. I mean, the hierarchy's gone completely off the rails. I mean, you've got right now, you have a lot of Catholic bishops that are subtly and not so subtly, and certainly not condemning, but subtly and not so subtly promoting like homosexual relations. I mean, I'll ask you, explain to me how any Catholic in the category that I've set out, I'm not talking about all the Novus Ordo Catholics, because if you talk about all of them, you know, sadly, so many of them, they're more secular than Catholic. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're fine with that, because they'd probably think that homosexual relations are fine anyway. So, I mean, that's how bad things are in the church. But explain to me how the 10% we're talking about would not, like, let's say, oppose that 100%. I mean, and really, this is a little bit more difficult because of of kind of, like, I would say, the difference between worship and doctrine. But really, what Pope Francis did a year ago with Traditiones Custodes and the letter accompanying it, basically, I mean, saying flat out that the goal is to eliminate the traditional Latin Mass. I mean, for those who have just a little bit more theological training, and I would say just a little bit more reflection, like I was saying earlier, that's the same thing. I would say it's impossible for you to not, like, let's say, oppose that 100% if you know your Catholic faith. Now, again, that is a little bit more difficult just because of everything that's happened in the last 50 years with the promotion of the Novus Ordo and all this. But from the very beginning, I mean, the introduction of the new Mass was, I mean, a grave, grave abuse of authority and a grave abuse of power that neither the Pope nor bishops have the authority to do. They don't have the authority to do that. They did it anyway. But that's also why the church is suffering so much by the abuse, the grave abuse of authority, which obviously is also the grave abuse of liberty, talking about human liberty, what we're talking about in terms of the heresy of Americanism. And those who have been given greater responsibilities and greater grace to exercise their freedom in a responsible way for the well-being of the rest of the church. I mean, those who abuse that, well, the consequences are also going to be more devastating.